John's checking everything still, so hang on there for me. If you missed my radio show last night, you missed a good one. We had Lee Haney on. Lee Haney, 8-time Mr. Universe. And Sydney Golland, she was 8-time Miss Olympia. I'm sorry, not Mr. Universe, Olympia. And so we had 2 8-time Olympian champions on the show last night. And that's another reason why you should be listening to my shows on Sunday nights. Different than this. This kind of becomes a podcast, and but the shows are different. And it was a lot of fun. He was a really nice fella, and gave me a picture of himself. Show you here while we're filling up time. All right, gotta remember to do that. That was Lee Haney in his day. He said he had I think he said a 34-inch waist and a 55-inch chest. And this is Sydney Gillen, and she was Miss Olympia as well. And they were both very nice, very charming, very pleasant. They enjoyed being on the show. It was nice that he said, too, that he'd been under chiropractic care since he was 18 or 16 or something like that. He says, I don't know how people do it without it. And she also had a scoliosis. She talks about it on the show, so I can say it. And she says, she got it fixed. And her spine is almost perfectly straight now. So there's a lot of benefits to this. And a lot of professional athletes, as well as amateur athletes, realize that structure is key. And I really believe that this is the missing link in healthcare. I really believe that once this catches on and becomes mainstream, and I hope it does, with the new administration, they're really pushing. I know RFK, I heard him speak live one time, and he was just unbelievably smart. And again, regardless of your political views, I mean, the guy just knows his stuff. But the thing, of course, that I liked is he said, chiropractic care needs to be in the mainstream. He says chiropractor, people think outside the box. They actually get to the cause of the problems. And so maybe, just maybe, things are shifting in a positive way, which I hope it is, for you guys' sake. I mean, I already get all this stuff. I know the nutrition. I get the chiropractic care. I know all this already. But when we expose this to the masses, it's going to blow everybody away. So we're ready, John? Okay. So welcome, folks. My IT people say I can speak now. If you're new to the show, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. I speak for 24 minutes. You, whatever platform you're on, can type in any health question you have. John, at the break at 24 minutes, is going to then read me the questions. I will then answer the questions that you put in there. At the next 24 minutes, I'll speak, and then I'll answer some more questions. So this is an ideal time for you to get those health questions answered. We all have health questions. I have health questions. And I wish I had somebody I could turn to. I used to have to do the research and then be the person that people turn to. But I want to be here for you. So whenever you're ready, John. Okay, here we go. Got to get our camera and our timing set up. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am glad you're with me today. I had a lot of patients this week that had a lot of depression, and I didn't know what it was. It's always kind of strange when I see patterns develop. And, it's left shoulders, 20% of our patients have left shoulders or sciatic pain or digestive issues. But this week was anxiety and depression. We had a lot of them, and I had a lot of questions come on the website too, so it wasn't just local. It seemed to be a thing. And so people always ask me, what can I do for anxiety and depression? And I said, well, you come see us. We can work on your digestive system and do a nutritional workup. But what can you do? What can you do right now to help the body and the brain work more efficiently? Because we all have depressed moments. We all have anxiety moments. That's okay. That's normal. But when it becomes impactful on our daily life, that's when it becomes an issue. And so we're going to talk today about the foods I want you to avoid if you suffer from anxiety and depression. And what's interesting, if you're smart, you'll see the pattern here. It's the same foods I tell you to avoid if you don't have anxiety and depression. But specifically, if you have anxiety and depression, these are the things you really want to get out of your diet because they are going to cause problems, I guarantee. And if you're doing them every day, you don't even realize it. I have anxiety. I have depression. Why am I so depressed? Well, I'm going to reach for blank, and that's only fueling the fire. So I want to start out with one I've talked about quite a bit, and that's fruit juice. Now, you watch the commercials, part of this nutritious breakfast. Orange juice is great, and no. You might even hear that cranberry juice is good for urinary tract infections. It is. Pure organic cranberry juice is. There's a compound in cranberry juice that prevents the bacteria from sticking to your bladder walls, and it helps heal the infection. It's great. Most people don't drink pure cranberry juice because it tastes awful. Very, very, very bitter. If you're going to do it, mix it with water. You can sweeten it with a little stevia, but don't sweeten it with sugar. Because if you do, sugar feeds the bacteria, makes it grow more. Many people drink cranberry juice cocktail. That's not cranberry juice. It's sugar water with a little bit of cranberry juice in it. And that can actually make the infection worse. And I say that because a couple of weeks ago, somebody came in and said that. They said, I have a urinary tract infection. I've been drinking cranberry juice, and I think it's getting worse. And I said, what brand? And they told me the brand, and I said, that's cranberry juice cocktail. And they said, yeah, well, it's the same thing. And I said, no, it's not the same thing. And that's why you really have to know what you're doing. A little bit of knowledge can be dangerous. And I see this all the time. People say, I take vitamin D. Well, great. What is it? Well, my doctor gave it to me. It's 50,000 international units. I take it once a week. Well, A, that's vitamin D2. I'm going off on a tangent here. That's vitamin D2, not vitamin D3. Vitamin D2 has to be converted into D3. B, you can only absorb so much at a time, so giving 50,000 international units, I find, doesn't work as well as spreading it out throughout the week. And then C, if you take vitamin D3 without K2, you run the risk of building up calcium inside your blood vessels. D3 helps you absorb calcium into your blood system. K2 takes it out of the blood system, brings it into the bones. So a little bit of knowledge. Vitamin D is good for you, right? Yes. Now you learn all the intricacies about it. And so it's the same thing with fruit juice. We talked about cranberry juice. But orange juice, that's very popular. People have it for breakfast. One of the worst things you could do for breakfast because it just spikes your blood sugar and then you crash. And then 10 o'clock rolls around and you're exhausted. What do you want to do? I need a cup of coffee. Need a coffee break. And you make it through there, and then you have lunch. You probably have some cheese pizza, and the cheese pizza clumps your red blood cells together, and you can't carry oxygen. Then you get tired. So what happens at 3 o'clock? Another coffee break. So what are you doing all day? You're struggling just to stay awake. That's what most people do all day, every day. Think about your life. You wake up, you get tired in a few hours, you have coffee, you get tired again, you have coffee, and then you go to bed. And that's it. It's not a lot of fun that way. I like having energy throughout the day. So fruit juice, not a good idea. And without the fiber, you're pretty much drinking slightly nutritious sugar water. That's pretty much all it is. Now, the fiber pushes the sugar through the colon. You get a slow release of sugar, and it has other phytonutrients and other nutrients that help offset the damage that the sugar may cause. And again, if you're doing fructose, which sugar, fruit has a lot of fructose in it, fructose has to be converted into glucose. And in the process of converting fructose into glucose, your body produces uric acid. And uric acid gets in your joints and it hurts. I am a pain management expert. I'm board certified in pain management, as a matter of fact. And so I try to teach my patients how not to be in pain. And that's why we do a nutritional workup on every single patient that comes in our office. And they say, well, Dr. Joe's in a car accident. What does nutrition have to do with it? I got hurt playing football. What does nutrition have to do with it? Because I want to get you well as fast as possible, and I don't want you doing things to make the problem worse. And if you're drinking something as innocuous as orange juice, it can cause inflammation, get in the joints, and it hurts. Uric acid prevents the body from producing nitric oxide, which opens up the blood vessels and increases circulation throughout the body. And one of the reasons you don't heal is you don't have good circulation. So you think you're doing a good job with that orange juice, and I probably just gave you 5 reasons not to drink any fruit juice. I shouldn't pick on orange juice, any fruit juice. And then what happens is your blood sugar spikes, and then you crash, and you get hungry. And when you get hungry, or hangry, many of you get hangry, and that's not going to help with anxiety and depression. Anxiety and depression, you want a steady steady stream of good fuel going into the brain. And if you're not doing that, that's going to be a problem. When you're thirsty for water. I know that sounds boring, but water is going to be the best thing you can drink. Now, if you have to drink something with flavor, have Dr. Joe's Essential Source, which, by the way, everybody should be taking anyway every day because that's a key for normal brain function. But Dr. Joe's Essential Source is prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, and a complete multivitamin. Now, I'm not saying it's going to cure anxiety and depression, but it's part of the protocol. Everybody should be taking it anyway. It's the minimum supplements you need every day, but it's part of the protocol to help the brain work better. And Super Greens is a multivitamin. It has the nutrients that your brain needs and nutrients the rest of your body needs too. So if you have to have a drink, take a scoop of Dr. Joe's Essential Source, mix it up with some water or some unsweetened plant-based milk like coconut milk, almond milk, shake that up and drink it. That's a great way to give yourself a drink that tastes good, especially in the morning if you want like a shake or something like that, and it's going to help get the nutrients into the body that it needs. I mix it with Dr. Joe's Super Greens, and I take a scoop of each, Super Greens and Essential Source, and then I add 10 drops of Dr. Joe's vitamin D3 with K2 in it, and that's what I have in the morning, first thing in the morning. And after you do it for a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, you're going to wake up and look forward to that. like I do. Many times, usually 2, 3 days a week, I'll fast. I'll go from maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon until breakfast the next day. So when I wake up, I'm looking forward to a little snack. And the first thing I look forward to is Super Greens, an essential source. Then you start to feel the difference. You feel better when you take it, and that's another benefit to taking it. Now, the good news is, as I go on a tangent again, we have the new Super Greens berry flavor. It's in stock, so you can order it now. I don't know if it's on the website yet, but it should be. It is on the website? It's not on the website yet. Okay, but it will be very shortly. But the Super Greens berry is an amazing flavor. Oh my gosh, it tastes like a treat. I don't know what else to call it. It's so good. So if you've tried Super Greens in the past and you said, well, it's not my favorite flavor, berry. We have berry, mint, and plain now, and they're both berry and mint are just great. I love them. So that's how I start my day, and that's a great way to start your day instead of fruit juices because of all the negative impact. You're thinking to yourself, well, Joe, I don't drink juice. I drink soda every day. Wrong answer. Not a win for you. It's going to spike your blood sugar just like fruit juice does, but it doesn't have any nutrition in it. I shouldn't say none, but it has almost no nutrition in it. So what's happening now, at least fruit juice has a little something. Soda has pretty much nothing. Direct link between soda consumption and anxiety and depression. But why do you do it? Because soda oftentimes has caffeine. It gives you a little rush of energy. The sugar gives you a boost. It stimulates the dopamine receptor sites in the brain, so you start feeling high for a second. And you think, okay, for that moment of pleasure, that's what I'm going to do it for. I'll crash, but I'm going to get that moment of pleasure. What do I do then? I have more soda. It's a pretty simple process. So if you're craving soda, and I love bubbles. I went to a restaurant the other day. It was a burrito place. You get the burrito bowls because that's one of the better choices when it comes to fast food. And I got that, and I got a glass for water. It was free. And they had soda water, so seltzer water, and I had that instead. Much better choice. Now, if you like that and you want to, jazz it up a little bit, add a little lemon juice to it, a little lime juice to it. Again, lemon and lime juice is okay because it doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. And then you can add a little stevia to it and make lemon soda. Pretty simple. In my car, I have packets of stevia. Carry them with me. And every now and then, if I need something sweet, I'll grab it. I remember there's a young girl in my life, and she was maybe 2 or 3 years old, and if we'd go out to a restaurant, she would, I'd just make a soda for her. And for years, she thought that was really cool until she realized that really was Daddy's little version of it. But as an adult, you can make those decisions. And you could add the seltzer with the stevia and the lime, and lemon, and make yourself your own soda. And that'll give you a bubbly fix. You're not going to get the sugar from it, and cola, I can give you multiple reasons why not to drink cola. Caramel color, maybe linked to cancer. It's acidic. It robs the body of calcium. So there's multiple reasons not to drink soda. And of course, caffeine I'm not a big fan of either. So diet soda many times has something called aspartame. And aspartame, again, linked to anxiety and depression, aspartame is made up of aspartic acid, phenylalanine, and methyl esters. It's made up of 3 components. The aspartic acid is an excitotoxin to the brain. It causes the brain to fire faster than it's supposed to and can literally burn out your brain cells. That's a real simplistic way of looking at it. But it can burn out your brain cells. And it makes you crave more sugar. Because the study I just read this week, that aspartame releases insulin. The body thinks it's something sweet, releases insulin into the blood, and the body says, I got all this insulin floating around. I need to get it out of the blood. How do I get it out of the blood? I need some sugar. So it actually increases your sugar cravings. And people that use diet sodas traditionally gain weight because they drink the diet soda, then they have these cravings for sugar, and then they'll have some cookies, cakes, and donuts and pastas or whatever it is, and actually gain weight using artificial sweeteners. So I really want you to stay away from artificial sweeteners. When I talk about the 7 deadly sins of nutrition, alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, of the 7, the one I want you to stay away from, the way where you want to start is the artificial sweeteners. And you can have stevia, you can have Lohan. There's so many alternative natural sweeteners that you can use that aren't sugar, that aren't artificial sweeteners. Phenylalanine, if you have a condition called phenylketonuria, it can cause severe damage and even death, and that's phenylalanine. That's in the aspartame, aspartic acid, phenylalanine. And then methyl esters. Methyl esters are methanol. Methanol is wood alcohol. If I were going to give you a glass of methyl esters, of wood alcohol, that could be considered I'm trying to kill you. Can't drink with alcohol, but in small amounts, and it is small amounts, that's all it is. It's not deadly. I shouldn't say it's not toxic. It's not deadly, but it can be a very serious issue. And so methanol converts, methyl esters convert to methanol. Methanol converts into formaldehyde, which converts into formic acid, which is ant poison. And again, a lot of chemistry there. But I really want you to stay away from the artificial sweeteners. And especially since you have so many other options. It's not like, oh, I have no other choice. Sucralose is a chlorinated hydrocarbon. And chlorinated hydrocarbons can actually stimulate your estrogen receptor sites. And I do a lot of shows on hormone imbalances. And so sucralose, bad for different reasons. You guys, you have stevia, you have Lohan, you have xylitol, you have so many other options. I'm begging you, please, stay away from those artificial sweeteners. Because, again, they affect the brain. And what are we talking about today? Anxiety and depression. We want to get the brain working better, not in an adverse way. So please stay away from those. And again, just make your own. It's real simple. Now, does it taste as good, seltzer lime juice and stevia? No, it doesn't. I'm not going to lie to you. But it's a better choice. Now, they do have sodas, commercially made sodas, that are made with stevia. Zevia, Z-E-V-I-A, is one of the brand names. I have no connection to them whatsoever. But they have all sorts of different flavors. They have root beer, and they have colas, and they have orange, and they have cream, and so they have lemon lime. So if you're going to drink a soda and you want to get a can of soda, at least do the sweetener. Zevia is just one brand. There's other brands as well. That's the only one that came to my mind right now. So if you're just tuning in, folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. I'm talking today about anxiety, depression, the foods you want to avoid. Because so many of us, when we're in a bad mood, reach for what we call them the comfort foods, and they give you a little bit of boost, a little bit of energy, a little bit of high, but then you crash, and it makes it worse. And again, if you're just tuning in, I said this week I just had a lot of patients with anxiety and depression. And that's how I base a lot of my shows and my podcasts. I said, what happened this week in real life? These are the things we can do to address, because for some reason, if they're showing up my patients, and if they're showing up as questions on my website, drjoe.com, chances are it's something out there. And I don't know what it is, but it's there. Anxiety, depression, oftentimes related to pain. Neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues. So my approach to pain is, I want to cover up your pain as quickly as possible. But I want to get to the cause of the pain as well. And that's different than most doctors. And I'm not picking on my friends, my colleagues. I refer to them. They refer to me on an hourly basis, actually a regular basis. But our goal is to get to the cause of the problem, and that's why the doctors love to refer patients to us. We get a lot of patients from psychiatrists and psychologists. And they say, Dr. Joe, we've worked on the best we can, doing the work we can. What can we do chemically to help reset the brain? And getting them on a good diet is the key. Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, Dr. Joe's B Complex, Dr. Joe's Vitamin D3 with K2. That's kind of like my starter kit for everybody. People say, where do I start with supplements? Super Green, Essential Source, B Complex, and Vitamin D3. I take 10 drops of vitamin D3. I mix it in with the Super Greens and Essential Source, shake it up and drink it. I take my B Complex, and that's how I start my day. Now, I take other supplements too. We have a new men's and women's hormone support coming out. It'll be here in the next couple of days. It's amazing. I formulated it, and it's amazing. It helps so much with so many different things, including performance in the bedroom. I'm not just working on men's and women's hormone support. I wanted to make it performance from a romantic standpoint too. So that's coming out this week, I think, or next week. Again, we said the new Super Greens is out with the berry flavor. That's amazing. I'm always working to create new products for you guys. We have chewable energy tablets. Oh my gosh, I love them. I got to stop taking them. They're so good. It's ginseng and nitric oxide in a chewable. Tastes like a little chewable candy. And they're amazing. So we have a lot of new products coming out. Why? Because you guys asked for them. So I'm putting together the new products so that I'm helping you energy, emotional issues, Super Greens, of course, chlorella and spirulina, detoxify the liver, omega-3 fatty acids, iodine. Essential Source, of course, is the granddaddy of them all, the prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes. So we have these products coming out to help you not just feel good physically, but also mentally. Because so many times, I've been in practice a long time, so many times when I find somebody has anxiety or depression, we got to fix their digestive system, which is a secret there, because the stomach breaks proteins into amino acids, and amino acids become neurotransmitters in the brain. And so if you're not digesting your food properly, heartburn, acid reflux, burping, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, you're not able to get the proper amounts of amino acids in most cases to produce the neurotransmitters to make the brain work. In all my years of practice, I've never had somebody come in with an emotional issue, anxiety, depression, ADD. I've never had anyone come with an emotional issue that didn't have a digestive problem. And I've been in practice 40 years. I've seen a lot of patients. And so we always work on their digestive system. Then we get them on supplements. And if you have pain, I have chronic pain patients every day come in our offices, and they're depressed. Dr. Joe, I can't walk like I used to. I can't play with my grandkids. Lee Haney, a 4-time Mr. Olympia, 8-time Mr. Olympia, was on my radio show. And he said at his age, he's around my age, he says, our goal is functional health at this point. He had a 55-inch chest when he was Mr. Olympia. Imagine a 55-inch chest and a 35-inch waist. And he says, yeah, that was great for posing and winning contests, but now we have to look at functional health. And we talked about nutrition. We talked about chiropractic care. He says, I don't know how, he's been going to chiropractic since he's 20 years old. How do people not go to a chiropractor? And we had Sydney Gollin as well. She was 8-time Miss Olympia. And she said the same thing. She goes, I had such a bad scoliosis, they were going to do surgery on me. She goes, and now my spine is essentially straight. So there's so many things physical that we're missing when it comes to healthcare, including anxiety and depression. So if you have pain, that can be contributing to the anxiety and depression. So if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, numbness, tingling, folks, go to my website, drjoe.com, make an appointment to come see us. In the Atlanta area, I have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. Stop suffering. I don't know how to make it any clearer. So many of you have pain, and you're thinking, well, I don't know. I'm just going to deal with it. I just take my medication. I had a patient come in this week. She says, I've been listening to you for 20 years now. I'm a nurse. And when I first heard about you, I thought you were nuts. And she goes, it took me 20 years of listening to you almost every week to convince me that you know more than any doctor I've ever known. And now she's a patient. Don't wait 20 years. I mean, she said the same thing. She goes, I wish I didn't wait this long. So make an appointment, drjoe.com. Normally the first visit is $940. I want to find out what's wrong with you, and I want to remove the barriers to find out what's wrong with you. So we've reduced that to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on your follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. Let's get a baseline. Let's see where the problems are. Is it structural? Is it digestion? Is it nutrition? Do you need chiropractic? Do you need physical therapy? Do you need orthopedists, neurologists, neurosurgeons, psychiatrists? I don't know. Let's put together a plan. Let's find out what's going to be the best course of treatment for you. And let's see which way to go. Wouldn't it be nice to actually have a plan on what to do with your health? That's my job, drjoe.com. So make an appointment. If you have any questions, send them to me through the website, drjoe.com. Happy to answer your questions for you. Please follow me on social media. I'm asking this as a favor. I'm happy to answer your questions, happy to give you all this information through podcast, through radio, through television. But your fee for that is follow me on social media, Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook is the Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Pick all of them if you can. Dr. Joe Esposito. And if you're a podcast junkie, which a lot of you are, the podcast is Dr. Joe for the Health of It. Dr. Joe for the Health of It. We put out several podcasts a week. So we have podcasts, we have radio, we have television. You have my website, drjoe.com. Search the website. We have over 4,000 hours of content there. And if you it says Dr. Joe's radio shows, under education, we have all the shows listed that we've ever done. So you can listen to old shows, you can pick topics. I don't know how to make it easier for you folks. drjoe.com. I want to be your doctor, one way or another. And all the supplements we talk about are available on the website too, drjoe.com. So stop suffering. Get the supplements. If it comes to us, let's fix up the structure. Let's straighten the diet out, and let's get you well. All right, so we're talking today about foods to avoid if you have anxiety and depression. This is going to be a surprising one for you. Toast. Why toast? What an odd one. It's made of white bread. Oh, it's made of bread usually, and if it's white bread, that's not a good thing. It's highly processed. It quickly turns into sugar, and it can give you that energy spike and then a crash, just like eating sugar, and that can be bad for anxiety and depression. So the other thing about toast is when you brown it, the darker it gets, you create a chemical called acrylamides. Acrylamides are linked to cancer. And so if you're going to eat toast, very lightly toasted, and the best bread to eat, everybody says, what's the best bread, Dr. Joe? It would be a sprouted bread. Now, Ezekiel is a brand name, no connection to them. And I know I've seen it at Sprouts. Kroger has its own sprouted version. I was in Publix the other day. They have their own sprouted version. So sprouted bread is real easy to find. You've probably just never looked for it. And the sprouted bread, slightly different than white bread, much more consistency. I like it, actually. And that's not going to spike your blood sugar quite like the white flours are. And again, if you're going to toast something, very, very lightly toasted, because I don't want those acrylamides forming, which are linked to cancer. So toast is okay, but don't put butter on it. Well, if you're going to use an oil, use extra virgin organic olive oil. That would be the best type of spread. It's not really spread, it's an oil to put on your bread. But margarine is a hydrogenated oil, and hydrogenated oils are so dangerous to your cells. They clump your red blood cells together, and they can actually affect a part of the brain called the mitochondria, not just the brain, the whole body. The mitochondria is the part of the cell that generates electricity. And many times anxiety, depression, we're just wiped out. We just can't function. And that, a lot of times, is a function of the mitochondria. So if you're eating ultra-processed foods, if you're eating alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, processed foods, sodas, artificial sweeteners, that sounds like everybody's diet, right? Those ultra-processed foods are going to affect mitochondrial function, which is where the electricity is generated, which helps the brain work. And the mitochondria is really super concentrated in the brain, in the cells, as well as other places. So we want to stay away from those things, especially with anxiety and depression, because it's going to help the brain work better. And the seed oils, the corn, the cottonseed, the canola oils, extremely dangerous to the mitochondria as well. We did a show on that not long ago on seed oils and how dangerous they are. And in fact, even for diabetics, worse than sugar, seed oils. So I know you're thinking to yourself, well, Dr. Joe, that's my whole diet. If you don't know what to eat, go to drjoe.com, type in the search bar, so what can I eat? Listen to that. At least do 80% of what I say. I'll give you the 80-20 rule. For 20%, you can cheat a little bit. But once you start seeing the change, you're taking the super greens, the essential salts, the B complex, the other supplements, and you start changing your diet, that 20% of cheating becomes 10%, 5%. You'll be amazed. Folks, I got to go to a break. The website again, drjoe.com. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Whew. Cutting that one close. All right, John, you have questions for me?
What are some things that causes your legs and your feet to swell?
Usually a circulatory issue. It could be a clogged up liver, because the liver is a filter and the blood flows through the liver. And if the liver's clogged up, you get back pressure. It could be a venous insufficiency. It could be a problem with the blood supply in the legs itself. Could be pinched nerves and blood vessels in the low back. Could be a kidney issue. I've seen a lot of patients with kidney issues where the legs swell. So I don't have a quick answer for that one. But you might want to come see us. Well, not want to. You should come see us. Let's check the nerve supply going into the low back. We'll look at your diet. We'll talk about good, healthy kidney diet. I just had a conference call today with a patient. Diabetes, kidney failure, 41 years old. He says, Doc, I'm dying. And the doctors say there's nothing they can do. So I sent them some articles that I've read, some research on kidney issues, on diabetes issue, type of diet that works best. Spoiler alert, plant-based diet. I'm going to get them on nitric oxide to open up the blood vessels and increase circulation. And in most cases, we see pretty good results. We use cold laser on that, too, to try to get the circulation going. So we have a protocol for that, but it's not something I can say, hey, take this supplement, it gets better. Come see us. We got to do a workup on you. So, and if you go to your medical doctor and they're doing a workup, get a kidney workup and a liver workup. What else you got?
Are there benefits to a 72-hour fast?
Absolutely. Oh, my gosh, yeah. I love fasting. What'll happen is if you do a fast, like I do fast, like I said, usually from 3 o'clock in the afternoon until about 6 or 7 the next day, a couple of times a week. And after you get used to it, after you do a couple, 2, 3 of them, it's not a big deal. You get a little hungry. No big deal. I get a little hungry anyway. But the changes are phenomenal. Now, if you're going to do a 72-hour fast, I want you to do Super Greens and Essential Source at least once a day, probably twice a day, with water. And that's not going to break your fast, and that's going to give you the nutrients that you need and also help you detoxify more efficiently. So, yes, fasting bueno. Now, there's certain people who shouldn't fast if you're diabetic and you got to watch yourself if you start to crash or something like that. So if you want, you can get in touch with me and I can kind of coach you through it. We can set you up a nutrition consult. So, what else?
What are the best foods to break a fast with?
Very gentle. Break fast. That's why we call it breakfast. You're breaking your fast. Breakfast. There's a new word for you. Okay? And so you want to go very, very gentle on the body. So things like Super Greens and Essential Source is great. Fruit. If you had to pick the best food, would be fruit. I do some fruit, some Super Greens and Essential Source, wait an hour or so, then maybe have something a little heavier and kind of build up from there. Yeah, but go slow coming out of the fast. Yeah, don't ruin it with bacon and eggs like most people do. What else you got?
Are canned black beans with low sodium okay?
Yes. Make sure they're organic. A lot of cans use something called bisphenol A and bisphenol S, which line the cans, which are endocrine disruptors. If you're doing organic, hopefully it's a better choice. If you're going to do canned beans, rinse them first and then use them, and then you should be okay. But try to do organic if you can.
What are your thoughts on sparkling water?
Excellent. Yeah, very good. You can get a sparkling water machine. They cost a couple of bucks, but it's worth it if you drink a lot. They pay for themselves very, very quickly. So, no, I love sparkling water. Mm-hmm.
What kind of alcohol do they put in toffee cookies? I saw it as an ingredient listed on a cookie list.
Toffee cookies. I don't know that because I don't eat toffee cookies. So maybe, I don't know, like a coffee alcohol maybe? Like a Kahlua or something? But again, I have no idea. I don't know. Can't answer that one. What else?
That is all.
All right, cool. All right, guys, you're going to have another 24 minutes of me yapping. There's a good chance to write in more questions for me. Got a new coffee cup, teacup. Very exciting. I live on the edge. Big treat for me. It's on estate sales, $2. But it's brand new, so it was okay. So, all right. Ready for round two? Where was I? There I was. Toast. Oh, it's going to do resistant starches and proteins and carbs. Okay, good. All right, I'm ready. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe here. If you just joined us, welcome. If you stayed with us, I'm glad you did. I always appreciate you taking time out of your day. I have a goal. And I've been doing radio now for about 14, 15 years. I've been lecturing for about 40 years. And my goal is that every time we get together, I try to teach you something new. Because some of you have listened to, hundreds, maybe thousands of hours of some of my lectures. You see there's a little repetition. Because there is a finite amount of knowledge there when it comes to getting well. There's a certain pattern that forms over and over again. But I always try to throw new information in, some new facts for you. And that's why it's a good idea to listen to the shows. Follow me on social media, Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook is the Dr. Joe Esposito. If you're a podcast junkie, Dr. Joe for the health of it. And the reason I do that is because I want to give you as much information as possible, and you have to hear something over and over again. You're not going to get it the first time. Nobody gets anything the first time. When I read and I research to do these shows, I have to read the article over and over and over again. And what I'll do sometimes is I'll actually record the research. And I'll be in my car and I'll just play it back to myself so that I have the stats in my head that I can spit them out quick. And so I have a traumatic brain injury. I was hit by a car when I was 10 years old. So my brain ain't right. And so I got to do extra work to make sure my brain does the best it possibly can. So I understand that this is a lot of new information, but it's really one of the best things you can do for your brain. We're talking today about anxiety and depression and the best foods, or the worst foods for anxiety and depression, or the best foods to avoid. And the brain, when you have anxiety and depression, oftentimes doesn't work as well as it should. And so we've got to kind of make it work. And one of the best exercises you can do for your brain is exactly what you're doing right now, listening and learning new information. And I try to speak in a way that I go up, I go down, I give you new information, I speed up, I pause. I do that because the brain is listening. And if it's very monotone and I do the same thing over and over and over again, you phase out. But when we spike it and we drop it and we pause, your brain says, ooh, what's next? What's next? What's next? And so it's a good way to have you keep your attention. Kind of works pretty well, doesn't it? All right, so right before the break, we talked about toast not being a good idea. It actually should be bread. I said toast because of the acrylamides that are formed when you toast things. Toast it very lightly. And a good thing you can do, and we talked about it, sprouted bread was probably your best choice, is take the sprouted bread and freeze it. Because when you freeze it and take it out of the freezer, you created now something called a resistant starch. So if you're going to eat starches, whether they're beans or potatoes or rice or quinoa or bread, when you cook it and then cool it overnight in a refrigerator, or in this case, freezer, you change the molecular structure of the starches and create something called a resistant starch. We post, again, every day on social media. One of the posts, we go viral all the time. We always get like 1 million views. Not always, but a lot of our posts get 1 million views or so. And one of them was on resistant starches. And it was amazing. It's science. It's not me. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not that smart. And people were saying, well, I've never heard that before, so it's not true. And I said, just because you haven't heard it before doesn't mean it's not true. Everything you've ever learned, you never heard at some point. And I was fascinated how the internet, of course, is an interesting place to be. But most people like, this is amazing. I never heard this before. Thank you. It's great. Well, I never heard it, so it's not true. Well, research it. Just Google resistant starches. I mean, it's pretty easy to figure out. But if you're going to eat starches, you want to cook them, refrigerate them, and the next day either heat them or eat them cold. It doesn't matter. And you'll absorb about 40, depending on the research you read, 60% less of the starches because it changed the molecular structure. And now you have what's called a resistant starch. And those starches that you're not absorbing, those carbohydrates you're not absorbing, actually become something called a prebiotic. And they feed the good bacteria in your colon. And that's really important because all the research I talked about for years is now becoming mainstream. Anxiety and depression directly linked to the bacteria in your colon. Diseases directly linked to the bacteria in your colon. How fast you live or die directly linked to the bacteria in your colon. And so by resistant starches, you're actually helping yourself. And so when you get your Ezekiel bread, freeze it. And then just take a slice out at a time. If you toast it very lightly. And that's going to be a resistant starch, but a much better choice when it comes to bread. If you eat a protein with your carbs, so if you have a handful of walnuts, handful of pistachio nuts, that's going to slow down the rate of the absorption. And that's going to be very good for you as well. And if you eat fiber, of course, we talked about that with, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds. The fiber is going to slowly push the sugar through your colon and give you a slow release of energy. So there's 3 things I just taught you about stabilizing blood sugar that maybe you've never heard before. And it took probably about 35 seconds, maybe 50 seconds. So resistant starches, cool it and then eat it. Eat a protein with the carbs, like some nuts, and then eat fiber with it. And you're going to have a much slower absorption rate. How cool is that? How easy is that? And these are all healthy foods that are loaded with nutrients anyway. Now we just made it a lot better. So if you're just tuning in, we're talking today about foods to avoid if you have anxiety, depression. Salad dressings. Commercially made salad dressings. Many times they're using seed oils, soybean oil, corn oil, canola oils, sunflower, safflower oils. And again, if I was going to eat sunflower seeds, that's a good thing. That's some nuts I can eat. It's going to stabilize my blood sugar. It's a protein. But when I extract, whoever, extracts the oils out, they use high temperatures. They use chemicals. It stinks sometimes. They have to deodorize it. They have to clear it up. They have to put chemicals in there to make it clear because if it's cloudy, you don't want to use it. And so that's the problem, is the processing of the oils, not the seeds themselves, the processing. Soybean oil, soy is great. Soybean oil, not good. It's so ultra-processed, and that's where the problems come in. So many of the light salad dressings, sugar-free dressings, they have artificial sweetener in it. We talked about that earlier, how dangerous that is. They may have high fructose corn syrup in it. We talked about that earlier. Not a good idea. So why not just make your own? In fact, the first book I ever wrote, let's see if I had a copy, it's called Eating Right for the Health of It. And Eating Right for the Health of It, I have a whole chapter on salad dressings. Why? Because you should have a salad every day. And people say, I'm bored with oil and vinegar. Okay, bunch of salad dressings in that book, Eating Right for the Health of It. It's on the website, by the way, drjoe.com. And we can actually send you an old school copy of a book. Or we have it as a PDF too, if you want to be cool. But we can actually send you a real live copy of a book. And that whole list of salad dressings. And one of the recipes I have in there is a ginger dressing. And that's my favorite of all of them. And ginger is anti-inflammatory, which is great. It's actually an aphrodisiac too, so be careful with that. But it has so many other healthy nutrients in it. And one of the things we're going to talk about in a second is soy sauce. Soy sauce many times has monosodium glutamate in it. And monosodium glutamate, very bad for everybody, including people with anxiety and depression. So you eat Chinese food, you feel awful. Why is that? They use seed oils, probably a peanut oil or a soybean oil. They use monosodium glutamate. And you think, well, I ate the healthy, Dr. Joe. I had the vegetables. You told me to eat more vegetables. Not a good delivery system. And so you can use something like tamari, which is like a high-end soy sauce, coconut aminos, which is like a salty, it's made with coconuts, higher-end soy sauce type thing. So use those instead. And I put tamari in that salad dressing, a ginger dressing as well. And then we use extra virgin organic olive oil. Make sure it's organic olive oil. And the way you tell, if you've listened to my shows before, the way you tell it's a good olive oil is it should smell like olive oil, and it should have one source. Italy, California, Spain, whatever it is, because the more sources, the more likely it is to be cut with cheaper oils. And when you buy it, put it in the refrigerator. Put some in a bowl and put it in the refrigerator. If it gets cloudy, it's a good oil. If it doesn't get cloudy, it's not a good oil. Take it back to the store, get your money back. So there's so many good salad dressings you can make, and I have a bunch of them in that book, Eating Right for the Health of It, and that's on the website, drjoe.com. So stay away from those processed salad dressings. Probably not a good idea. Another thing that helps stabilize your blood sugar, because again, if we have anxiety, depression, we want to keep a steady flow of blood sugar throughout the body, is vinegar. Vinegar actually helps stabilize your blood sugar. So apple cider vinegar is probably going to be your best bet, raw organic apple cider vinegar. But anything with vinegar and acetic acid is going to help stabilize the blood sugar. And that's one of the tricks I teach my diabetic patients, but I teach it to everybody because it helps stabilize blood sugar. Now, I'm Italian. I grew up in a big Italian family. And every Sunday you went to grandma's house because you had to. You never were invited, but you went. And if you know anything about the Italian meal, there was usually snacks beforehand, an antipasta plate, and back then there was a little bit of meat, usually like artichokes and vegetables, though. And then you had your main course, whatever the main course was. And if there was any meat involved, very small amounts of meat. It was not a big, like an American meal. Very small amounts, little bit of pasta, not a lot. You didn't have these big bowls of pasta you take home. Little bit of pasta. And then at the end of the meal, salad. Now, when I became an adult, and I remember moving away to college, going out to a restaurant, and they brought me salad first. I didn't understand that. I grew up in a very sheltered life. I didn't understand why to bring the salad first. You have salad at the end of the meal. No matter how full you were, you had salad. And looking back, as my Italian grandparents, they understood how to do things. They didn't understand the biochemistry behind it, but it worked. You ate salad high in fiber. What did fiber do? Push everything through your colon. The vinegar stabilized the blood sugar. It was a good time to have the salad. And no one, I'm sure, ever thought about why we did it. It was just tradition. I talked about my German grandparents. Whenever we had a lentil soup or a split pea soup, right before we ate it, my grandmother would put apple cider vinegar in it. Why? It's how everybody did it. Apple cider vinegar stimulates your digestive enzymes, helps you break down the proteins, helps break down something called raffinose. Raffinose is a carbohydrate in beans that cause gas, and so you digested it better. The salad at the end, the Italians help you digest it better. And now you know why. Isn't that cool? And so if you're going to do a salad dressing, make your own. It's a whole lot cheaper. It's a whole lot easier. I like balsamic vinegar. I don't like the tartness of vinegar usually. Balsamic vinegar, extra virgin organic olive oil, a little bit of water, air-dried sea salt or Celtic salt, pepper, put some garlic in there if you want to get crazy, and just pour it on your salad and eat it. My mother, whenever we had an event, a big family event, her job was make the salad. My mother made the best salad of any human being on earth. And I watched her 100 times. And she just knew the exact to the drop how much oil and vinegar to use. And it was always great. And my friends to this day, my friend Kurt, for example, we were best friends back in high school. He would actually go to my house and have dinner without me. Like I'd be at football practice and he didn't play football in high school. I'd come home, he's sitting there having dinner with my parents. I said, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "I was walking home. I stopped in. Your mother said, stop in, let's have some dinner." That's how my mother was so well known that people, my friends would just even go there and just have dinner without me. So there is so many good foods that you can eat, and that can help stabilize blood sugar, which can help with anxiety and depression, but help for overall health as well. And that's what we're talking about, just overall health. Ketchup is the same thing. Ketchup, it can be 42% sugar. And what's it made with in the United States? In most cases, high fructose corn syrup. Same exact company, same exact bottle. You go to Europe, it's made with cane sugar. Now, cane sugar isn't good, but it's a whole lot better than high fructose corn syrup. So many products that we have here in the United States you can't get in other countries because they've banned them. Certain dyes, high fructose corn syrup, even the sodas. Same soda that you would buy in America is made with cane sugar as opposed to high fructose corn syrup in other countries because A, it's banned, or B, the country won't buy high fructose corn syrup. And so many things that we accept as part of our culture are very bad for our health. We spend more money per capita on healthcare than anybody in the whole world, and yet we have one of the sickest countries in the world. we're doing something wrong. In my perfect world, I want 3 things to happen when it comes to healthcare. Whatever the issue is, unless you have a bullet in your neck, and either way, you still want to get this checked, you want to have a normally functioning nervous system, a normally functioning digestive system, and good nutrition. That's a plan. It's not a health insurance. That's health insurance. If you're talking about your insurance plan, this is a healthcare plan. If you have a pinched nerve, nerves control everything. 90% of your nerves don't feel pain. So you can have a pinched nerve and not know it. So in my office, my doctors check the nerves that feel pain, and we check the nerves that don't feel pain. And if you have bones out of place, they're going to rub up against each other and wear out, and that's called arthritis. The only guarantee I can give you is if you have bones out of place, you will get arthritis. Talk about supplements. Yeah, they're great. Research is there. It helps. Maybe it's not going to help everybody. But I guarantee you, if you have bones out of place, you will get arthritis. And after 40 years in practice, I've had many patients come to me and say, Dr. Joe, I heard you say that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And I finally come to see you, and my spine is all worn out. My knee is worn out. My shoulder's worn out. Why do you wait? Make an appointment to come see us right now. If you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, grinding neck, hip pops, drjoe.com. Let's see what we can do. Chiropractic care puts the bones back in place. Acoustic wave therapy is a machine that we have that breaks up scar tissue, increases circulation, and recruits stem cells. And we can use it on any joint in the body. The hips, the knees, the shoulders, the spine. I've had countless patients been told they have to have a knee replacement, hip replacement, shoulder replacement. We do the acoustic wave on it, and the pain goes away. We have cold laser. Cold laser is amazing for circulation, healing. We have protocols for just about everything with the cold laser. You don't feel anything. It's called a cold laser because it's cold. We do nutrition workup on everybody. So if you're serious about wanting to get well, go to my website, drjoe.com. Book an appointment right now. Normally, the first visit is $940. I've reduced that for you, my listeners, to $299. And I do that because I want to find out what your problem is. I don't know if I can help you. Let's do an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, see how you did after the first treatment. Let's do a nutrition workup. Let's go over all our findings, and then we can discuss with you what's going to be best for you. Is it chiropractic care? Is it nutrition? Is it supplements? Is it cold laser? Is it acoustic wave? PRP. PRP, we can take your blood, spin it down, and take out what's called the platelets and re-inject them back into your joint to help stimulate new joint growth. It's not going to be like you were 16 again. So we have this whole collection of protocols that we have available for our patients. Many of you don't even know they exist. So go to my website, drjoe.com, book an appointment. Stop suffering needlessly. I'm really tired of people coming to me and saying, I should have come to you 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I know you should have. I wouldn't be here right now talking to you if it wasn't for the protocols that I use on my own self. Most people my age have serious issues, take a bunch of medications. I take 0. Most people my age have talked about hip replacements, knee replacements, shoulder replacements. Not even close. So drjoe.com, just make your appointment. Stop suffering. And the minimum supplements we talked about earlier, in case you're just tuning in, would be Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, vitamin D3 with K2, and B complex. That's the starter kit. Now, we have some new men's and women's hormone supports coming in next week or 2 weeks from now. Unbelievable. I formulated them, and they're great. And they're so good for energy, balancing hormones. Again, is it going to be the end-all, be-all? No, it's not. But it can even help with sexual function. Now, it's not going to end-all, be-all, cure everything, but these are the formulas and the supplements and the herbs that I've put together that research has shown, yes, this might be able to help. Glutathione, master antioxidant. All of us are beating the heck out of our livers every day, and you take care of them. Glutathione. We have new flavors. We have Super Greens Berry coming in. So if you've tried Super Greens in the past, we now have Super Greens Berry. And this one tastes great. Tastes like a treat. We have Essential Source coming in soon that's going to be mango flavored. We have chewable energy supplements. I can almost guarantee you it's going to blow away all of our other supplements. You take 2 chewable pills. They taste great. They're sweetened with natural sweeteners. It's ginseng and nitric oxide. Opens up the blood vessels, gives you energy. I take it right before a workout. I take it before I do a radio show. I take it if I'm going to a concert at night, and it's going to be late night. Late night for me is like 9, 10 o'clock. So that's going to be a big favorite. But the minimum supplements, again, are on the website, drjoe.com. Super Green Essential Source B Complex, vitamin D. Glutathione is there. We have an intestinal formula to help the bowels move more efficiently. We have a new one coming in that works really well. I formulated it as well. So many other supplements. We have Wellness Booster to keep your immune system strong. I carry it with me in my car. If I feel the slightest incident of a scratchy throat, a runny nose, I'll take Wellness Booster, 2 or 3 dropperfuls every hour. I've never had it progress to a full-blown cold. Now, it could be for you, but it works for me. Then we have a seasonal tonic, which is if you do have an infection. It's ginger, horseradish, cayenne pepper, onion, garlic. And again, I'm not saying it's a drug, but these are the herbs that have been shown to help fight infections. So if you have any questions, send them to me through my website, drjoe.com. Happy to answer your questions for you. Again, I want to be your doctor. Whether it's virtually, whether it's just through supplements, whether you come see us, I want to do everything I can to get you well and keep you well. drjoe.com. We accept almost all insurances too, by the way. So make an appointment. We'll call you. You can ask questions about your insurance and whatever you want. Come in. We hear it every day. Dr. Joe, your staff is amazing. You got the nicest people working for you. I do. I really do. I'm very proud of my staff. But we're talking today about anxiety and depression, foods to avoid. I hate to say coffee, but coffee can make anxiety and depression worse because especially if you start to withdraw from the coffee. So that's why we created Dr. Joe's Chewable Energy Tablets. They're coming out soon. And at least Super Greens Essential Source and B Complex and nitric oxide. Nitric oxide opens up your blood vessel, increases circulation to your entire body. That helps with blood pressure. It helps with circulation to the brain. So if you have normal or high blood pressure, absolutely nitric oxide supplements. If you have low blood pressure, email me. I'll give you a protocol to what to do if you have low blood pressure. But I'm not a fan of coffee. If you're going to do coffee, please do organic. I don't know how to make it easier for you. Just do organic. Organic decaf would be the best choice if you have to do coffee. Energy drinks, stop it. Oh my gosh. I mean, doctors, hospitals, emergency rooms, cardiologists, stay away from this stuff. We all agree on this. So Super Greens Essential Source B Complex and nitric oxide is going to give you a real boost of energy. And then our chewables coming out soon. Alcohol, I know it sounds like a good idea if you have anxiety or depression. Just stay away from it, folks. I know you want it. I understand. If you are going to drink, please take double doses of Super Greens and Essential Source, 1 in the morning, 1 at night. And B vitamins. You have to replace those nutrients that you're flushing out of your system. Frostings, margarines, we talked about the hydrogenated oils. Please stay away from them. Soy sauce, again, you want to do tamari or coconut aminos. Processed foods. A simple rule when it comes to anxiety, depression, or general health is if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. Read the ingredients. If it has ingredients that you wouldn't have in the usual kitchen, you can't make it at home, please don't do it. The ultra-processed foods are killing us. Number 1 cause of death, what do you think it is? Heart disease, diabetes, cancer? Nutrition. It's what you're eating. Heart disease, number 1. What causes heart disease? In most cases, it's nutrition. Cancer, not saying it causes nutrition causes cancer, but there's always a direct link to cancer and nutrition. Diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, there's a lot of research out there that shows nutrition can help stabilize that blood sugar. Type 1's a little different. Type 1 is an issue where your insulin doesn't produce insulin. That's a different story altogether. But you're going to have a cup of coffee and a donut. It's kind of ironic that the donut makes you crash and the coffee gives you energy. It's like, cut out the donut, at least if you want the energy. I like donuts. I used to make the donuts. I was a donut baker. That's correct. I'd go in before school in high school and do a whole shift of making donuts and then go to high school. Come from a poor family, had to work. And so I know all about donuts, man. I'm really good at making donuts. But it's not an ideal food. And you have to ask yourself a question. I ask myself this question a lot. Don't think you're immune to it. Is this the best choice I can make right now? Whatever that food is. The other day, like I said, I was driving, and we said, what do we want to have for lunch? And I didn't feel like sitting down at a fancy restaurant. And so there was a burrito place. A bowl where you go through the line, you line everything up. And there's Moe's, there's Willie's, there's Chipotle. Those are like the 3 biggies right there. And we stopped at one of those. And I had I didn't have any chips. I didn't have any wrap or anything like that. So it was mostly beans, a little bit of rice, lots of vegetables, lots of salsa. It was a great meal. Okay? And about $9, $10, I think. So I'm just realizing I got so much more to talk about, folks. I'm almost out of time. If you have any questions, send it to me through the website, drjoe.com. Make an appointment, drjoe.com. Follow me on social media, Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook is the Dr. Joe Esposito. We post every single day. If you like the long versions of stuff, YouTube. You like the short versions of stuff, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You're going to get so much information. If you don't like it, unfollow me. The podcast, Dr. Joe for the Health of It. Dr. Joe for the Health of It. You got 24-hour-a-day access to Dr. Joe. We have, I don't know, probably a couple of 100 hours of podcasts there. Tune in. Listen to all of them. You're going to learn a lot. And on the website, drjoe.com, we have all our shows archived, podcasts and regular radio shows as well. But, folks, I want to be your doctor. I want to get you well and keep you well. Thanks so much for tuning in. Tell your friends about the show. Make sure you follow me on social media, drjoe.com. Thanks for being here, folks. I'll talk to you soon. All right. Always goes so fast. It was funny with Lee Haney on the show yesterday. He and the gal, Sydney, said, that was an hour? That goes so fast. See, it really does. John, you have questions for us?
Are baked sweet potatoes and baked white potatoes equal in their nutrient value?
No, sweet potatoes are better. If you're going to do any potato, make sure it's organic, but sweet potatoes are a better choice. Bake them, cool them, eat them the next day. You got a resistant starch. There you go. What else?
Can scoliosis be corrected at 30 years of age?
I've seen it get better at that age. Never cured. We've never had somebody with a perfectly straight spine, but it's usually a muscle called the psoas muscle, P-S-O-A-S. And when the psoas muscle spasms, it pulls the spine out of place, and we got to adjust the spine back in place and then work on the psoas. So can I guarantee results? No. Have I seen it happen all the time, almost all the time? Yes. So make an appointment, drjoe.com.
Is there a benefit to eating the skin of organic baked potatoes?
Yes, absolutely. My grandfather always said, eat the skin. That's what the vitamins are, he used to say. So the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. Again, cook it, cool it, eat it the next day.
I noticed that a lot of sunflower seeds are roasted in sunflower oil. What is a better alternative to that?
Not a good idea. Dry roasted would be a better choice then. I assume they have dry roasted. Yeah. But stay away from that sunflower oil. Sunflowers are okay. Sunflower oil, no. What else?
Is there a specific type of vinegar that is better than the others?
Raw organic apple cider is your best choice. Anything else?
Should sweets made with sugar always be eaten after a meal?
Well, you shouldn't eat them anyway. But if you are going to eat them, probably after a meal is better, because if you have a protein in there, it's going to stabilize the blood sugar, and fiber is going to slowly push it through. So you put me on the spot there, but if I have to give you an answer, the answer is yes. Never eat them by themselves.
Is there a connection between peanut butter and cold sores? It seems
Yes.
like every time I eat peanuts, I get cold sores
Absolutely.
about 2 days later.
Peanuts are high in arginine. Arginine can actually stimulate herpes viruses. And I hear it a lot around baseball season. Patients come in and say, Dr. Joe, I went to the Braves game and I got a cold sore outbreak. And I said, what'd you do at the Braves game? Ate peanuts. Went to the circus. Ate peanuts. Cold sore outbreak. I do not recommend you eat peanuts under any circumstances. I never eat peanuts because they're high in omega-6 fatty acids. They have a mycotoxin on them. It's a fungus that grows on peanuts because they grow underground. It's a problem. And the high arginine levels can actually stimulate the herpes viruses. So, yeah, stay away from peanuts. What else?
That is all, but a note from the producer. The first 50 callers get a 10% discount on the new Super Greens Berry flavor.
That's right. We have the new Super Greens Berry flavor coming out. Are they get on a Super Greens Berry or on the Essential Source?
They have to call me on the berry.
Okay.
Because it's not on the website yet. The peach mango is coming in a few weeks.
Okay, and the Essential Source, right? Okay, the Essential Source. There was a mix-up. The manufacturer made the container too big and took a few grams out. So it's a new flavor, too. We were trying a new flavor, and the manufacturer blew it. So their mistake is your benefit. So with the new Essential Source, if you tell John nicely when you order, John will give you 10% off on that, too. Yeah. It's same quality product. Don't worry about it. It was just a manufacturing mix-up. So we're going to, because everybody's going to be calling us, the container's a different size. We know it's a different size. So we're just going to give you 10% off on that, too. All right. Anything else?
That is all.
Thanks.